In the colorful hills of Valparaiso, where fortunes are buried and betrayal runs deeper than the Pacific, a deadly inheritance is about to tear the city apart. When the last port king of Chile's golden era names an unknown actress as executor of his will, 5 criminal factions prepare for war. They think they're hunting a naive young woman who stumbled into wealth she doesn't understand. They couldn't be more wrong. Camila Leon isn't just an actress who memorizes scripts. She's the daughter of Eduardo Leon, the only forensic investigator who ever decoded the port syndicate's encrypted shipping manifests and survived long enough to hide the evidence. Her father taught her to read not just words, but the patterns criminals use to hide their empires, the codes that powerful men bury in plain sight. This isn't just another inheritance war. This is about how the most dangerous criminal networks in Chile learned that some women are far deadlier than the men who underestimate them. When they came for the fortune, they didn't realize they were walking into a trap set by someone who had spent her entire life preparing to finish her father's work. What follows is the story of how one actress would expose a criminal empire in 7 days, using nothing but her mind, a dying man's final confession, and the skills her father died protecting. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from, and if this story grips you, hit subscribe, because tomorrow we have something even more dangerous waiting for you. The morning fog rolled in from the Pacific, shrouding Valparaiso's hillside neighborhoods in gray mist as Camila Leon walked through Cerro Alegre. At 28, she had built a careful life here. Small theater roles, voiceover work, translation jobs when acting gigs dried up. Her tiny apartment near the port was filled with scripts and books, her only companions, besides the stray dog she'd adopted from the fish market. The smell of empanadas drifted from a corner cafe, mixing with salt air and the distant sound of container ships in the harbor. Tourists were beginning to fill the streets, cameras raised to capture the famous painted houses and street art. Camila had learned to appreciate the anonymity that came with being just another struggling artist in a city full of dreamers. It was a carefully constructed cover, built over 10 years of running from a past that had nearly destroyed her. Something felt wrong today. Camila paused at the top of the funicular, her trained instincts picking up details others would miss. The same black SUV that had been parked near her building for 3 days, the man in the expensive suit reading a newspaper at the cafe, his eyes tracking her movement. The way the vendor at the corner stand had nodded to someone she couldn't see. Her father's voice echoed in her memory, as clear as if he were standing beside her. "When you feel watched, Mija, you probably are. Trust your instincts. They're reading patterns. Your conscious mind hasn't processed yet." She quickened her pace toward the address she'd been given, already cataloging escape routes and safe houses she'd prepared years ago, just in case. The phone call had come 2 weeks earlier, unexpected and cryptic. A lawyer named Arturo Vega, representing Rodrigo Santiago, needed an actress for what he called a unique project. The pay was substantial, $20,000 for 2 weeks of work. Camila had almost refused. She knew the Santiago name. Everyone in Valparaiso did. Rodrigo Santiago had been the undisputed king of the port during the 70s and 80s, the man who controlled what came in and out of Chile, who decided which ships docked and which disappeared. The newspapers called him a businessman. Everyone else knew what he really was. But $20,000 would change her life, let her finally move to Santiago, audition for real roles, escape the poverty that had defined her existence since her father's death. "Señorita Leon," Arturo Vega had said on the phone, his voice carrying the careful diction of someone who measured every word. "Don Rodrigo is 93 years old. He's dying, and he wants to rewrite his will. But he doesn't trust his family. He needs someone neutral, someone who can understand complex family dynamics and help him articulate his final wishes. Your theater director recommended you highly." The explanation had seemed reasonable enough, but Camila's instincts screamed warning. Why would a dying port king hire an actress to help with his will? Why not a lawyer, a notary, someone with legal expertise? But the money was too good to refuse, and Camila had learned long ago that sometimes survival meant accepting dangerous opportunities. So she'd agreed to meet Don Rodrigo at his mansion in Cerro Castillo, the old money neighborhood where Chile's elite had lived for generations. The Santiago mansion was a relic from another era, a 3-story colonial building with wrought iron balconies and gardens that had been maintained for over a century. Security was visible but understated. Cameras hidden in the foliage, guards dressed as gardeners, the kind of protection that spoke of old power, the type that didn't need to advertise its presence. An elderly housekeeper named Rosa met Camila at the door, her eyes assessing and intelligent. "Don Rodrigo's in the library. He's been expecting you." The woman's accent was from the south, from farming country, and her hands showed decades of hard work. But it was her posture that caught Camila's attention, military bearing, the kind that never fully disappears. This wasn't just a housekeeper. She was security, protection, the last line of defense for a dying man who still had enemies. Don Rodrigo Santiago sat in a leather chair surrounded by books that looked older than the Republic, his hands trembling with age but his eyes sharp and calculating. He was thin, wasted by illness, but Camila could see the man he'd once been. Powerful, commanding, the type who spoke and nations listened. "Señorita Leon," he said, his voice still carrying authority despite its weakness. "Thank you for coming. Please, sit. We have much to discuss in very little time." Camila took the offered seat, her mind already working through scenarios. This was a test. Everything about this meeting felt staged, calculated to measure her reactions. "Señor Vega said you needed help rewriting your will," she began carefully. "Though I'm not sure why you'd want an actress for such work." Don Rodrigo's smile was knowing. "Because lawyers can't be trusted. They serve whoever pays them most. Family can't be trusted. They want what they think they deserve, not what they've earned. I need someone who can listen, truly listen, and help me articulate what I really mean. Someone who understands subtext and intention. You're an actress. You rid people for a living." He paused, studying her face. "And because you're Eduardo Leon's daughter, and if anyone can understand what I'm about to tell you, it's someone who inherited his gifts." The name hit Camila like a physical blow. She hadn't used her father's full name in 10 years, had carefully built a life separate from his legacy. The fact that Don Rodrigo knew that he'd sought her out specifically because of who her father was changed everything. "My father is dead," she said flatly, keeping her voice steady despite the emotions churning inside. "He died 10 years ago. Whatever gifts he had died with him." "Don't lie to me, child," Don Rodrigo said, but his tone was gentle, almost paternal. "I knew your father. We weren't friends, but I respected him. He was the only investigator who ever got close to understanding how the port networks really worked. He decoded manifests that were supposed to be unbreakable, exposed corruption that went to the highest levels. And he taught you everything before they killed him." The words hung in the air between them. Camila had spent a decade running from this truth, building walls around the knowledge her father had given her. "They said it was a suicide," she replied, though they both knew it was a lie. Don Rodrigo nodded slowly. "The same people who will say I died of natural causes when they finally get to me. But before that happens, I need to make sure the truth survives. I need to make sure the empire I built doesn't fall into the wrong hands." He pressed a button on his chair, and a panel in the bookshelf slid open, revealing a safe. From it, he withdrew a leather portfolio, worn with age and handling. "This is my real will. Not the document my lawyers have, not the version my children think exists. This contains the truth about everything I built, everyone I paid, every operation I ran for 50 years, port routes, shipping manifests, bank accounts, but more importantly, it contains the names, every corrupt official, every bought politician, every dirty cop who made this empire possible." Camila understood immediately why such a document would be worth killing for. This wasn't just inheritance, this was a complete map of corruption spanning half a century. "Why show me this?" she asked. "Why not destroy it? Take your secrets to the grave." "Because I'm tired," Don Rodrigo said, and for the first time, Camila saw genuine exhaustion in his face. "Tired of the violence, the lies, the empire built on suffering. I thought I was building something that would last, something my children could be proud of. Instead, I created monsters. My son Mateo thinks he can run the networks like I did, but he's reckless, violent. My daughter Carolina married into the Navarro family, and they're even worse. And my nephew Esteban, he's aligned himself with the new generation, the narcos who think brutality is the answer to everything. He coughed, a wet, painful sound that spoke of dying lungs. I want to end this, expose it all. Let the authorities dismantle what I built so that maybe, finally, this city can be free of us. The confession was stunning in its honesty, but Camilla's investigative training, inherited from her father, immediately spotted the complications. If you release this information, you don't just destroy your family. You destroy hundreds of powerful people, people who will kill to keep their secrets buried. Don Rodrigo smiled grimly. Which is why I need your help. This portfolio, it's written in code, the same type of encoding your father specialized in. Shipping manifests that look legitimate but hide real cargo. Financial records that appear clean but reveal money laundering. Names buried in employee lists and company directories. I need someone who can decode it, organize it, create documentation that the authorities can actually use. And I need someone who won't be corrupted or frightened off like the last 3 people I hired. The pieces clicked into place. The actress job was a cover. Don Rodrigo had specifically sought her out because of her father's skills she'd inherited and refined. What happened to the other 3? Camilla asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. The first one disappeared. The second had a convenient accident. The third got nervous and accepted a very large bribe to forget everything he'd seen. Don Rodrigo's hands trembled as he pushed the portfolio across the table toward her. $20,000 is what I'm paying publicly. But if you help me finish this, if you decode everything and get it to the right people, there's another payment. $2 million, hidden in an account only you and I will know about. Enough to disappear, start over anywhere in the world. Camilla stared at the portfolio, understanding that touching it would change her life irrevocably. This was the moment of choice, the fork in the road her father had warned her about. Take the safe path, walk away, continue her quiet life, or step into the fire, finish what her father had started, and risk everything. Your family will kill me, she said quietly. The moment they realize what I'm doing, they'll eliminate me like they did the others. Don Rodrigo nodded. Probably, which is why we need to move fast, create insurance, make sure your death would trigger the automatic release of everything. Mutually assured destruction. It's the only language powerful people understand. It was the same strategy her father had tried to implement before they killed him. But this time, Camilla thought, we do it right. This time, we don't make his mistakes. 1 week, Camilla said. I'll need secure workspace, proper equipment, and access to verification sources, and I want that $2 million in escrow now, with instructions to transfer it if anything happens to either of us. Don Rodrigo's smile widened. You really are your father's daughter. Rosa will show you to the study. Everything you need is there. We start tomorrow. As Camilla left the library, portfolio clutched tightly. She knew she'd just signed her own death warrant. But for the first time in 10 years, she felt like she was finally honoring her father's memory, finally finishing the work that had cost him his life. The Santiago inheritance wasn't about money or property. It was about justice, long delayed but finally possible. And she was going to make sure Don Rodrigo's confession didn't die with him. The study was exactly what Camilla needed. Computer equipment that was surprisingly modern for a 93-year-old man's house, multiple monitors, encryption software, access to databases that should have been restricted. Don Rodrigo had been preparing for this moment, probably for years. Rosa brought her coffee and said quietly, Don Rodrigo sleeps now. He has maybe 3 months left, the doctors say, but I think less. His enemies are getting impatient. The housekeeper's eyes met Camilla's, and in them she saw warning and something like pity. You should know, señorita, that someone tried to poison his food last week. We caught it in time, but they're inside the house now. Someone on the staff, someone in the family. Be very careful what you eat, what you touch. Camilla spent the first night cataloging the portfolio's contents, her photographic memory, honed by years of memorizing scripts and her father's training, allowing her to absorb information at incredible speed. The documents were extensive, 50 years of operations compressed into coded manifests, financial records disguised as legitimate business transactions, and names, so many names. She recognized several, Current senators, business leaders, a Supreme Court justice, the chief of police. The web of corruption was breathtaking in its scope. But it was the patterns that caught her attention, the same patterns her father had taught her to spot. Certain shipping routes that were used repeatedly, financial transfers that followed predictable cycles, code words and phrases that appeared across decades, a language of crime that had evolved but maintained consistent core elements. By dawn, she decoded the first layer, and what she found was staggering. Don Rodrigo hadn't just run port operations, he'd been part of a network that spanned the entire western coast of South America. Connections to Colombian cartels, Peruvian mining operations, Argentine financial institutions. This wasn't just a Chilean criminal empire, it was international, sophisticated, and still very much active. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop working on that project. Accept $10,000 and disappear. This is your only warning." Camilla deleted the message without responding. Someone was already watching, already trying to buy her off or frighten her away, which meant Don Rodrigo was right. Time was running out for both of them. She contacted Felipe Ortiz using an encrypted messaging system her father had designed years ago. Felipe had been her father's partner, the only other investigator who'd survived the purge that killed Eduardo Leon. He lived in Buenos Aires now, working as a private security consultant, but he still maintained the networks they'd built. The reply came back within minutes. "I warned you to stay away from that world, but if you're committed, I'm coming. Give me 2 days." That, Camilla thought, might be one day too many. Don Rodrigo's schedule was uncertain, his enemies were already moving, and she was racing against multiple clocks. She spent the second day going deeper, cracking the more complex codes, revealing layers that even Don Rodrigo might not have fully understood. Because hidden beneath the obvious corruption, beneath the names and dates and financial transfers, was something else. A second set of records, encoded within the first, documenting crimes that went far beyond port operations. Murders, disappearances, political assassinations, all carefully attributed to natural causes, or accidents, or suicides like her father's death. Don Rodrigo had kept records of everything, either as insurance or perhaps out of some twisted sense of historical documentation. Each entry had dates, methods, responsible parties. This was proof that could reopen hundreds of cold cases, proof that could bring down not just the Santiago Empire, but the entire criminal infrastructure of Chile. And someone knew she was finding it. The next morning, Rosa came to the study looking frightened. "Don Rodrigo collapsed last night. He's in the hospital. The doctors say heart attack, but I found this." She showed Camilla a small vial, empty but with residue. In his medication bottle, someone switched his pills. Camilla's blood ran cold. They were moving faster than expected, eliminating Don Rodrigo before he could ensure the information got out. "Where is he?" she demanded. "Hospital Regional. His children are all there. They've called for a family meeting this afternoon to discuss his medical power of attorney. They're going to take control of everything." Which meant Camilla had hours, maybe less, before the family discovered what she'd been working on. She needed to finish the decoding, create backups, establish her insurance system before they shut her down. "Rosa, I need you to do something for me. Can you get me into Don Rodrigo's hospital room, even for 5 minutes?" The housekeeper hesitated, then nodded. "There's a service entrance. I know the security guard. But señorita, if the family sees you there, they'll know you're more than just an actress he hired." "They're going to know anyway," Camilla said grimly. "Because Don Rodrigo made one decision I'm certain his family's going to contest. He named me executor of his real will." Rosa's eyes widened. "He didn't." "Señorita, that makes you a target. They'll come for you the moment they find out." Camilla smiled without humor. "They'll try, but I'm not the naive actress they think I am. My father taught me how to fight, how to survive, and I've spent 10 years preparing for exactly this moment." She spent the next hours working frantically, completing the decoding, creating multiple encrypted copies sent to secure locations around the world. Detailed instructions to Felipe, to a journalist in Santiago, to a law professor she trusted. If anything happened to her or Don Rodrigo, the information would release automatically. Mutually assured destruction, just like the old man had said. The hospital was chaos when Camila arrived late that afternoon. The Santiago family had gathered in force, their voices echoing through the private wing where Don Rodrigo lay dying. Camila slipped in through the service entrance Rosa had arranged, moving through corridors with the confidence of someone who belonged there. Don Rodrigo's room was guarded, but Rosa had arranged a distraction, and Camila had exactly 3 minutes. The old man looked smaller in the hospital bed, diminished by machines and medication, but his eyes were still sharp when they found her. "You finished it," he said, not a question. "Most of it," Camila replied quietly. "Enough to destroy everyone involved. I've set up the insurance system. Any attempt on my life or yours triggers automatic release. But there's something you didn't tell me. A second set of records, crimes beyond corruption. Don Rodrigo, this is evidence of murders, including my father's." His face showed no surprise, only resignation. "I kept everything, even the things I wish I could forget. Your father, he was killed on orders from the interior minister at the time, working with my son Mateo. I didn't approve, but I couldn't stop it either. I'm sorry, child. Truly sorry." The confirmation of what Camila had always suspected hit her like a physical blow. But there was no time for grief, no space for the rage building inside her. "Your son is outside," she said. "They're planning to declare you incompetent, take control of the estate and all your affairs." Don Rodrigo smiled weakly. "Let them try. Arturo has instructions. The moment they contest my competency, certain documents get filed with the court. Documents that show I was perfectly lucid when I made my decisions, including naming you as executor." "They'll kill me," Camila said. "Not a question, just stating fact." "Probably," he agreed. "But you've got your father's gift, his training. And now you have the truth, all of it, documented and ready to release. Use it wisely, mija. Don't let vengeance consume you like it consumed me. Use it to build something better." The door burst open. Mateo Santiago stood there, his face flushed with anger, 2 security guards flanking him. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded, then his eyes narrowed. "Wait, you're the actress, the one he hired for that ridiculous project." Camila stood slowly, meeting his eyes without flinching. "I'm Camila Leon, your father's executor, and the person who now controls everything he built." The words hung in the air, and Camila watched the color drain from Mateo's face as he processed what she'd said. "Executor? That's impossible. I'm his son. Carolina is his daughter. We're his legal heirs." Arturo Vega appeared behind Mateo, his lawyer's face professionally neutral. "Actually, Señor Santiago, your father updated his will 2 weeks ago, all properly executed, witnessed, notarized. Señorita Leon has legal authority over the estate pending distribution according to Don Rodrigo's wishes." Mateo's face twisted with rage. "This is fraud. She manipulated him, took advantage of a dying old man." He lunged toward Camila, but Arturo stepped between them. Any accusation of fraud would require a legal challenge, which would trigger a full court review of all estate documents. "Are you certain you want that level of scrutiny, Señor Santiago?" The threat was clear. If they challenged the will, everything would come out in court. All the secrets, all the crimes, all the corruption Don Rodrigo had documented. Mateo froze, calculating, and Camila saw the moment he understood the trap. "We'll contest this," he said finally, his voice low and dangerous. "We'll prove she's nothing but a con artist who targeted a vulnerable old man." He leaned close to Camila, his breath hot against her face. "And when we're done destroying you in court, we'll make sure you can never work in this city again." Camila met his eyes calmly, drawing on years of acting training to hide her fear. "Do what you need to do, Señor Santiago. I'm just following your father's instructions." As Mateo stormed out, Carolina Santiago entered, more controlled but no less hostile. "We need to talk," she said to Camila, "privately." The conference room Carolina led her to was empty except for 3 people. Carolina herself, a man Camila recognized as Esteban Santiago, the nephew, and an elegant woman in her 50s who introduced herself as Patricia Navarro, Carolina's mother-in-law. "Let's be direct," Patricia said, her voice carrying the authority of someone used to command. "How much do you want to walk? Away from this? Name your price?" Camila had expected this. "I'm not interested in money. I'm interested in executing Don Rodrigo's wishes, whatever those are. Patricia's smile was cold. Everything has a price, señorita. Your father certainly had one. We paid him quite handsomely to stop his investigation 10 years ago. The lie was so brazen, so calculated to provoke, that Camilla almost fell for it. Almost let her anger show, almost revealed how much she knew. But she caught herself, kept her expression neutral. My father died broke. If he took your money, he didn't keep it. He took it, Esteban said, pulling out a folder. Bank transfers, dated 3 days before his death, $200,000 from an account we controlled. He was bought just like everyone else. Camilla took the folder, studied the documents. They were convincing forgeries, good enough to fool most people. But her father had taught her how to spot fake financial records, and these had subtle tells. Wrong font, inconsistent date formatting, numbers that didn't quite align. These are fabricated, she said calmly. And if you're showing me fake evidence, it means you're desperate, which means Don Rodrigo's information is more damaging than I realized. The room went silent. Carolina leaned forward, all pretense of civility gone. You're playing a very dangerous game, little actress. You think having some documents gives you power? You have no idea who you're dealing with. Actually, Camilla replied, I know exactly who I'm dealing with. I know about the Navarro shipping operations. I know about the cocaine routes through Valparaiso. I know about the judges you've bought, the prosecutors you control, the politicians in your pocket. And I know about the bodies, 17 disappearances, all connected to your family, all documented with enough detail to reopen every case. She watched their faces, saw the flash of fear before they locked it down. So here's how this works. You leave me alone. Let me execute Don Rodrigo's will according to his wishes, and those documents stay sealed. But if anything happens to me, if I have an accident or disappear or suddenly decide to stop working on this, everything goes public. Police, prosecutors, press, all of it. Patricia's laugh was sharp. You're bluffing. No one keeps that kind of information secure. One hacker, one mistake, and it's gone. My father was a forensic investigator for 20 years, Camilla said. He taught me how to protect information, how to create systems that can't be easily compromised. I've sent encrypted copies to 7 different people around the world, each with instructions to release everything if I don't check in every 12 hours. Kill me, and you destroy yourselves. It was a gamble, revealing her hand this early, but Camilla needed them to understand that she wasn't an easy target, that eliminating her would cost more than it was worth. Esteban stood, his chair scraping loudly. This isn't over. We'll find those copies, we'll break your system, and then we'll deal with you permanently. As they filed out, Carolina paused at the door. You think you're clever, playing both sides, but you don't understand this world. You're an outsider, and outsiders don't survive here. Camilla returned to Don Rodrigo's room to find doctors working frantically. His heart had stopped. They'd revived him, but it was clear he had hours at most. I need to speak with him, she told the head physician. Just 5 minutes. The doctor shook his head. He's barely conscious. He needs rest. He's dying, Camilla said bluntly, and he has things he needs to say while he still can. The doctor hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. No more. Don Rodrigo's eyes flickered open when Camilla took his hand. They tried to buy you off, he whispered, his voice barely audible. Yes, Camilla said. I refused. They showed me fake documents claiming my father took bribes. They're more desperate than you thought. Good, he breathed. Use their desperation. Make mistakes when people panic. Camilla, listen, there's one more thing. A safe deposit box at Banco International. Key is hidden in my office, behind the 4th bookshelf, false panel. Inside the box is physical evidence, photos, original documents, things that can't be faked or denied. You'll need them when they challenge you in court. He coughed, blood flecking his lips. And there's a ledger, handwritten, shows payments to everyone involved in your father's death. Names, dates, amounts. It's proof, real proof, not just digital records they can claim are fabricated. Camilla's hand tightened on his. Why did you keep all this? Why document everything if you never intended to use it? His smile was sad. Because I was a coward. I wanted insurance, wanted leverage, but I never had the courage to actually expose it all. Until now. Until you. The machines around him began beeping more urgently. Nurses rushed in. "You need to leave," one said firmly. Don Rodrigo gripped Camilla's hand with surprising strength. "Finish it," he whispered. "Don't let them bury the truth like I did. Promise me." "I promise," Camilla said. And then he was gone, slipping away as machines wailed and doctors worked uselessly to bring him back. She stood in the hallway, processing what had just happened. Don Rodrigo Santiago was dead, which meant the clock was now ticking in earnest. His family would move to seize control, to bury the truth, to eliminate her before she could fulfill his final wishes. She had maybe 24 hours before they made their move. She needed to get to that safe deposit box, secure the physical evidence, and complete her insurance system before they shut her down. Felipe arrived that evening, moving through the city with the careful awareness of someone who knew how to stay invisible. They met at a cafe in Cerro Concepcion, surrounded by tourists who provided perfect cover. "You look terrible," he said by way of greeting. "Don Rodrigo died 3 hours ago," Camilla replied. "And his family's planning something. I can feel it." Felipe's expression hardened. He'd been there when her father died, had helped her escape the cleanup that followed. "Then we move tonight, get the physical evidence, secure it somewhere safe, and prepare for whatever's coming." They spent the next hour planning with the systematic precision her father had taught them both. Multiple backup plans, escape routes, dead drops for information. Everyone they trusted, which was exactly 3 people: Felipe, Rosa, and a journalist named Gabriela Fuentes, who'd been investigating the Santiago family for years. Breaking into Don Rodrigo's office was easier than expected. Rosa had keys, and the family was too busy at the hospital arranging things to notice them entering the mansion. The safe deposit key was exactly where the old man had said, hidden in a panel behind the 4th bookshelf. But it was the journal they found with it that made Camilla's breath catch. Leather-bound, filled with Don Rodrigo's careful handwriting, detailing 50 years of criminal operations with the precision of a corporate ledger. Names, dates, amounts, crimes, everything they needed, all in one place. "This is suicide to carry," Felipe said. "If they catch you with this, they'll kill you immediately." Camilla slipped it into her bag anyway. "Then we make sure they don't catch us." The family meeting was called for the next morning, 10 o'clock sharp, at the Santiago family estate. Camilla arrived with Arturo Vega, the lawyer looking nervous but determined. "They're going to try to intimidate you," he warned. "Multiple family members, all trying to overwhelm you with legal talk and implicit threats. Stay calm, stay professional, and remember that you have the law on your side." The main salon was filled with people when they entered. Mateo and Carolina, obviously, Esteban and Patricia, but also others Camilla didn't recognize: cousins, business partners, associates. The full weight of the Santiago empire gathered to crush one young woman who threatened their world. "Thank you all for coming," Arturo began, but Mateo cut him off. "Let's skip the pleasantries. We're here to discuss the obviously fraudulent will that names some actress nobody has ever heard of as executor. I've already filed papers with the court to have it overturned." "On what grounds?" Arturo asked calmly. "Undue influence, manipulation of a dying man, fraud. Take your pick." Mateo gestured to a man in an expensive suit. "This is Rodrigo Herrera, one of Chile's top estate attorneys. He's reviewed the situation and agrees that we have strong grounds for challenge." Herrera stood, pulling out documents. "The will in question was executed just 2 weeks ago, when Don Rodrigo was heavily medicated and in declining health. The executor is someone with no prior relationship to the family, no expertise in estate management, and questionable background. We believe we can demonstrate that she manipulated Don Rodrigo during a vulnerable period." Camilla had been expecting this, had prepared for it with Arturo's help. "Actually," she said calmly, "Don Rodrigo was extensively evaluated by 3 independent physicians in the week before he signed the will. All confirmed he was of sound mind and clear judgment. Those evaluations are part of the court record." Herrera's expression flickered with surprise. Good. They hadn't expected her to be prepared, hadn't expected her to understand legal procedure. "Furthermore," Camilla continued, "Don Rodrigo recorded a video statement explaining his reasoning for the will's provisions. Would you like to see it?" The room went silent. Mateo's face flushed red. "What video?" Arturo pulled out a laptop, setting it up on the conference table. Don Rodrigo insisted on creating a comprehensive record, anticipating that his decisions might be contested. The video played, showing Don Rodrigo in his library, clearly lucid and articulate. If you're watching this, it means I'm dead and my family is fighting about my estate. Let me be absolutely clear. I am of sound mind. I have not been manipulated or coerced, and I have chosen Camila Leon as executor because she is the only person I trust to execute my wishes honestly. He paused, looking directly at the camera. Mateo, Carolina, if you're watching this, know that I love you, but I also know what you've become, what you plan to do with the empire I built, and I cannot allow that. The information I've given to Señorita Leon will ensure that the Santiago legacy ends with me, that the corruption and violence stop here. The video ended. The room erupted in angry voices, multiple people shouting at once. Mateo slammed his hand on the table. This proves nothing. He was clearly coerced, told what to say. By whom? Camila asked calmly. I met him 3 times before he died, each time with witnesses present, including his own doctor and lawyer. When exactly did I coerce him? Patricia Navarro stood, her voice cutting through the chaos. Enough. Clearly we're not going to resolve this through conversation. She looked directly at Camila, and there was murder in her eyes. You've made yourself an enemy of powerful people, Señorita. That's not wise for someone who wants to continue living in this city. The threat was explicit, designed to terrify, but Camila had been preparing for this moment for 10 years. Is that a threat, Señora Navarro? Because I should mention that this meeting is being recorded, and making threats against an executor is a federal crime. She pulled out her phone, showing the recording app. And yes, I have permission from Señor Vega to record, as is my legal right. Patricia's face went white, then red. She'd been caught making an explicit threat, one that could be used against her in court. Carolina tried a different approach, her voice reasonable, almost pleading. Look, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. Our father just died. We're grieving, upset. Can we start over? Maybe there's a way to work together, ensure everyone's interests are protected. It was a good performance, Camila admitted, almost convincing if she didn't know what the Santiago family was really capable of. I'm open to cooperation, she said carefully, as long as it's within the legal framework of Don Rodrigo's will. I'm not here to steal your inheritance or cause problems. I'm just here to execute your father's wishes, whatever those turn out to be. Esteban laughed, harsh and bitter. His wishes? You mean the wishes you planted in his senile head? Everyone knows you're just after the money, after whatever fortune you think he had hidden away. Actually, Camila said, deciding it was time to show more of her hand, I know exactly what fortune he had. I've spent 2 weeks cataloging his assets, decoding his records, understanding the full scope of what he built, and I can tell you that there's a lot more than money at stake here. She let that sink in, watching faces as people processed what she was implying. What does that mean? Mateo demanded. It means your father kept records, extensive records, of everything, every operation, every transaction, every person involved, 50 years of complete documentation. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Multiple people exchanged glances, fear replacing anger. They were starting to understand what Don Rodrigo had really done, why he'd chosen an outsider as executor. You're lying, Patricia said, but her voice lacked conviction. Those records don't exist. Rodrigo was too smart to keep evidence like that. Was he? Camila pulled out her phone, pulling up a document. Let me read you something. March 15th, 1987. Payment to Judge Armando Soto, $50,000 USD for favorable ruling in the Puerto Nuevo case. Present, Rodrigo Santiago, Patricia Navarro, Mateo Santiago. Should I continue? Patricia's face went ashen. That case had been 35 years ago, supposedly lost to time. The fact that Camila could cite it specifically, with exact details, proved she wasn't bluffing. Where did you get that? She whispered. I told you. Don Rodrigo kept records of everything, and before he died, he asked me to make sure those records served justice, not corruption. Mateo stood abruptly, his chair falling backward. You're threatening us. You're trying to blackmail us into accepting this fraudulent will. No, Camila said firmly. I'm telling you that fighting this will mean fighting your father's final wishes. and he made sure that fighting him would be very, very costly for everyone involved. She stood, gathering her things. The will proceeds to probate next week. I suggest you speak with your lawyers about the wisdom of contesting it. Because if this goes to court, everything becomes public record. Every document, every piece of evidence, every name. Are you sure you want that? She left with Arturo, walking through the Suoti mansion, with her heart pounding, but her face calm. Only when they were in his car, driving away, did she allow herself to shake. That was incredibly dangerous, Arturo said. You just threatened the most powerful criminal family in Chile. I know, Camilla replied, but they needed to understand what they're dealing with. Fear is the only language they respect. That night, someone tried to kill her. Camilla had been staying at a hotel, had taken precautions, but they found her anyway. She woke to the smell of smoke, fire alarms screaming. The door to her room was blocked, jammed from the outside. Felipe had taught her to always check for alternative exits, so she went through the window, using the fire escape while flames consumed the floor above her. 3 other guests died in that fire. The news called it an electrical fault. Camilla knew better. They'd tried to make it look like an accident, to kill her along with enough other people that it wouldn't be obvious she was the target. But they'd underestimated her paranoia, her preparation, her father's training that had taught her to always expect the worst. She called Felipe from a burner phone. They tried tonight. Fire. The hotel on Avenida Brazil. His curse was creative and multilingual. You need to disappear. Now. They're not playing games anymore. But Camilla couldn't disappear. Not yet. She had one more thing to do. One more piece of Don Rodrigo's plan to execute. The safe deposit box at Banco International. She went in the morning, dressed as a businesswoman, hair pulled back, glasses she didn't need, but that changed her appearance. The bank manager verified her authorization, led her to the vault. Inside the box was exactly what Don Rodrigo had promised. Photographs, documents, physical evidence that couldn't be dismissed as digital fabrication. Photos of meetings between Santiago family members and government officials. Photos of shipments being loaded and unloaded with visible identification of illegal cargo. Original contracts signed by all parties, detailing criminal operations with the precision of legitimate business deals. And at the bottom, a leather ledger. Her father's name was on the third to last page, his death listed with clinical precision. Eduardo Leon, eliminated August 15, 2013. Method, staged suicide. Authorization, Interior Minister Mendoza Mateo Santiago. Cost, $75,000. Responsible parties, Detective Marcos Ruiz, Officer Fernando Silva. Camilla's hands shook as she photographed every page, uploading them to her secure server. This was it. This was proof of her father's murder, proof that could bring down everyone involved. She'd spent 10 years preparing for this moment, and now she finally had what she needed. As she left the bank, she noticed the black SUV parked across the street, same one that had been following her for days. They were no longer trying to be subtle. They wanted her to know she was being hunted. She called Gabriela Fuentes, the journalist. I have everything, all of it, everything we need to expose the Santiago family and bring down half the government with them. Gabriela's voice was tight with excitement and fear. How soon can you get it to me? Already sent encrypted files to 3 of your secure accounts. If anything happens to me, publish everything. It was time for the final play. Camilla arranged a meeting with the family, claiming she wanted to negotiate. They gathered again at the mansion, but this time the atmosphere was different, more tense, more dangerous. Mateo didn't even try to pretend civility. You survived the fire. Impressive. The admission was brazen, stupid, but he was past caring about subtlety. Camilla remained calm. I'm good at surviving. My father taught me how. She placed a folder on the table. This is a copy of the ledger your father kept. Every crime, every participant, every detail, including entries about 17 murders, one of which was my father. The room went deathly silent. You're lying, Carolina said, but her voice shook. Read page 47, Camilla said, 3rd entry from the bottom. Mateo grabbed the folder, flipping through it. When he found the page, his face went white. Where did you get this? Your father gave it to me, along with instructions to use it if anything happened to him or to me. And since you tried to kill me last night, I think we're past the point of negotiation." Camilla stood, looking at each of them in turn. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop all challenges to the will. You're going to cooperate with the estate process, and you're going to accept whatever distribution your father specified. Because if you don't, this ledger and all supporting documentation goes public. Police, prosecutors, press, every name, every crime, every detail." Patricia laughed, sharp and bitter. "You think you can blackmail us? You think we'll just surrender because you have some documents?" "Yes," Camilla said simply, "because those documents destroy you completely. You go to prison, you lose everything, and your names become synonymous with corruption and murder. Or you accept your father's decision, take whatever he left you, and live with the knowledge that you can't control everything." Esteban pulled out a gun, not pointing it at anyone, just setting it on the table, a statement of their willingness to use violence. "Or we kill you right now, find those files, and destroy them before anyone sees them." Camilla smiled, and there was nothing friendly in it. "Go ahead, kill me. But you should know that 3 journalists have the files, 2 lawyers, a federal prosecutor, a judge, all with instructions to release everything if I die. You kill me, and you destroy yourselves." It was a bluff. Partly. She had sent files to Gabriela and Felipe, but not to all those others. But they couldn't be sure, couldn't risk that she was telling the truth. The standoff stretched out, seconds feeling like hours. Finally, Carolina broke the silence. "What do you want?" "Really?" "Justice," Camilla said. "I want my father's murder exposed. I want the people responsible to face consequences, and I want the Santiago empire dismantled so it can never hurt anyone else." She pulled out another document. "Your father's will directs that the legitimate businesses be sold, proceeds distributed to his heirs. But the criminal operations, all those assets, they're to be liquidated with proceeds going to victims of crime in Valparaiso. It's his attempt at redemption, at making amends for 50 years of damage." Mateo's laugh was harsh. "He's trying to atone from beyond the grave. Typical. Never had the courage to do the right thing when he was alive." "No," Camilla agreed, "but he's doing it now, and I'm going to make sure it happens." She headed for the door, then paused. "You have 24 hours to decide. Accept the terms or face the consequences. Choose wisely." As she walked out, she heard Esteban say, "We should kill her anyway." And Patricia's reply, "And trigger the release of everything? No, we need to find those files first, eliminate her insurance. Then we can deal with her." Camilla had expected this, had planned for it, because the Santiago family would never accept defeat, would never stop hunting her until either she was dead or they were destroyed. So she was going to make sure they destroyed themselves. The final confrontation came 3 days later. The family had apparently decided to call her bluff, to push forward with challenging the will despite the risks. The court hearing was scheduled, and Camilla arrived with Arturo and Felipe, ready to present evidence. But as they entered the courthouse, Mateo was waiting with a dozen lawyers and what looked like half the police force. "Camila Leon," he announced loudly, "you're under arrest for fraud, extortion, and conspiracy." The police moved forward, and Camilla felt ice in her veins. They'd bought the system, used their connections to turn the law against her. She was being arrested for trying to expose them, but she'd prepared for this too. As the handcuffs clicked around her wrists, she looked directly at the TV cameras that Gabriela had arranged to be there. "Everything I told them was true. Don Rodrigo Santiago documented 50 years of corruption, and they're arresting me to keep it hidden. But it's too late. The truth is already out." At that exact moment, Gabriela's story hit the internet. Every major news site in Chile simultaneously published the full exposé, with documents, photographs, and recordings, the ledger entries, the proof of murders, the connections to government officials, everything. Social media exploded. Within an hour, it was international news. Within 3 hours, federal prosecutors had no choice but to act. The police who'd arrested Camilla were ordered to release her. Mateo, Carolina, Esteban, Patricia, and 17 others were taken into custody. The Santiago Empire, built over 50 years, collapsed in a single day. The Interior Minister resigned. 3 judges were suspended. The chief of police was fired. And Camilla watched it all from Gabriela's office, exhausted and terrified. But finally, finally free. The estate settlement took months, but Camilla executed Don Rodrigo's wishes exactly as specified. The legitimate businesses were sold, the criminal assets liquidated. Proceeds went to his heirs and to victims. The $2 million he'd promised her was there, exactly as he'd said. Enough to disappear, to start over anywhere in the world. But Camilla stayed in Valparaiso, took her inheritance and started a foundation in her father's name, helping victims of crime and corruption. Worked with prosecutors to use Don Rodrigo's documentation to reopen cold cases and pursue justice. The Santiago family went to trial. Most were convicted. Some fled the country. The empire her father had died trying to expose was finally dismantled. And every night, Camilla stood on her balcony overlooking the port, watching ships come and go, knowing that her father would have been proud. She'd finished his work, exposed the truth he'd died protecting, and survived when everyone expected her to fall. In the colorful hills of Valparaiso, where secrets had been buried for generations, one actress had proven that sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't violence or money. It's truth, carefully documented and strategically revealed. And some inheritances are worth more than gold. They're worth justice, long delayed but finally served.